you have tried scuba diving? It is one of the most mesmerizing experiences of life. However, it's not as easy as it seems. As we go deeper and deeper into the ocean, our body starts feeling the pain due to increasing pressure. We get scared of limited visibility. And then we get out. Only the brave ones who bear the pain and pressure reach the depth of life, and so is our life. In April 2019, I was at TCS office in Pune, where I came across a photograph of Mr. J.R.D. Tata and his quote, "Nothing worthwhile is ever achieved without deep thought and hard work." Now, often some quotes, words, music pulls our heartstring. This quote touched my core. Now, as the first thing, I kept it as my WhatsApp status. But at that moment, little did I know that life would take me on a journey to experience this quote, to live up to this quote, and find the deeper meaning of my life. A journey of paying debts and exploring the depth of life. While leading one of the nationally acclaimed employability project, I was in Nashik, a place in Maharashtra, for a week, where one of the institutions, they invited me to interact with their students for an hour or so. Now, they called me and said that, "Come to our college and enlighten our students." Well, nobody attends enlightenment within an hour. So instead, we chalked out 2 days program comprising of various aspects of the industry. Now, when we started the interaction, the first opinion about those students was they don't know anything. And it was obvious because most of them were not able to introduce themselves or articulate their thoughts in Marathi, forget about Hindi or English. And it was an empathetic opinion. Now, on day 2, we started with innovation and design thinking. And to my surprise, they came up with 7 ideas, out of which 4 ideas had a potential to become a startup. One of the ideas was about women's safety, and it was the same time when Hyderabad rape case happened. The idea was about a shoe with GPS tracking and signaling mechanism connected to some network of police or maybe volunteers working in women's safety. Now, being curious, I asked them, why shoes and not anything else? They said that when somebody attempts rape, the most heinous crime, the perpetrator will focus more on the upper body of that girl. He will try to grab her neck or hold her shoulders and try to put her down. Now, in that situation, for that girl, it's next to impossible to take out her phone, then unlock it first, and then call for help. And the second reason is our legs are the strongest part of our body. So for that girl, it will be very easy to trigger some signal through a particular gesture. Even if this idea gets implemented and saves one life, that too of a girl, it's worth implementing. Forget about its feasibility, but the kind of imagination and the visualization those students had was some talent. Yes, the same students whose potential was underestimated by me on day 1. Often it happens that the real potential of youth from rural or semi-urban setup is unnoticed, underestimated, and eventually remains unutilized. In the evening, I called my wife and said, "I'm thinking of something for such students who have the potential but lacking platforms." She also generously said, "Ja Amol ja, jile apni zindagi," which simply means, yes, it is approved. Trust me, at that point in time, I had no clue about what could be done, but the intent was clear. The intent to come up with a platform to help these youth transmute their caliber into success. After returning to Pune, I discussed with leadership, and the very next day, I put down my papers. Now, while decoding this brave and bold decision, I uncovered few essential and important aspects responsible for this decision. I learned the audacity of life when I met Mr. Anupam Kher, when he said, "Ek bhiga hua insaan kabhi barish se nahi darta," which simply means that everything looks difficult and fearful until we try it. I learned the theory of transformation when I volunteered for Pani Foundation, and they also taught me about the practicality. I understood the reality and uncertainty of life when I lost one of my best friends in a road accident. Now, we had the best doctors, we also had all the support system required, and money was also not a concern at all. But at that moment, in that ICU, we were just a spectator. Yes, just a spectator. And that's what life is. That's the reality of life. Also, the sense of spirituality. also helped me calm down, settle my aspirations of materialistic life. Above all, similar to those students, I also belong to a rural setup, from a Marathi background, from a humble background. So I was the best student of my college. However, I was not placed. Now, when you have the potential, but if it is not getting converted, I think that is the worst feeling one could ever have. I could feel them as I have been there. So the culmination of all these realizations made me take the leap of faith. And on 18th April 2020, in the pandemic, I started my startup to empower youth of our country. Now, as we get the clarity on the purpose, the next step in the journey is passion. When the world was locked in the lockdown, colleges were closed and youth was confused, just within a month of starting our journey, we empowered 10,000 students, 10,000 youth as our responsibility towards them, towards the pandemic, without incurring a single rupee as a cost. Then we defined our vision and formulated our mission to empower 1 million youth towards innovation and entrepreneurship. Indeed, an audacious task. After that, we identified few students, few youth who were passionate about doing something in life. And out of 1,000 plus applications, we shortlisted only 12 youth, 12 passionate youth who joined us and worked for almost 2 years without a stipend. That's what passion is. After that, we signed MOUs with 100 plus institutions in Maharashtra as their youth empowerment partner. The point is, if you are passionate, the ecosystem will come to support you for sure. After things got streamlined, I shifted my focus towards simplification of innovation and entrepreneurship in the form of a methodology. Now let me tell you, simplification is the most complex thing because it takes tremendous amount of thoughts. I was so engrossed in my thoughts that one day after taking a shower, I realized that I have applied the shower gel on my head and shampoo on my body. That's what passion in true sense is. So with this unparalleled passion, we started continuing. However, as we know that when we dream big, when we go for bigger things, we are bound to face challenges and adversities. They are inevitable. So we entered the third stage, which is patience. The pandemic was a challenge in itself. So instead of rushing into the implementation, we held our nerves and started preparing ourselves till the time the pandemic got settled. Now, after that, as I mentioned that I was working with 6-digit salary, 7-digit package, that fancy lifestyle, but my income got stopped. And we started feeling the financial crunch. So to take care of our initial expenses, I started selling the shares in my portfolio one by one. Now the funny and frustrating part was, whenever I sold or I had to sell some shares from my portfolio, its price got skyrocketed within the next few weeks. It is very frustrating at times. Now, we were managing our expenses somehow, but then after working for 10 years in the industry, whatever I had saved got evaporated within 10 months. And I went bankrupt. Now, I remember the time when my mother was in ICU and I had hardly 300 rupees in my account. 368 rupees to be precise. I would say bankruptcy is a great teacher. Now to sustain the momentum we had gathered and survive the bankruptcy, we sold every ounce of gold our family had, including the jewelry of my mother, which I had gifted her after I started earning. We call it as a gantan in Marathi. Now imagine the scene in that jewelry shop. Me and my wife, we went there. We gave that gantan to the jeweler. He took it, then he cut that thread and separated gold. And then he started hitting that gold because they do it before weighing to ensure the accuracy. Now when that jeweler is hitting that piece of gold, our emotions, our feelings, our strings attached with that jewelry were also getting burnt. It was special, not just for me or my wife or anybody else, but also for my mother. And at that moment, I was avoiding eye contact with my wife because I knew that if I break down, she will break down. And she was also doing the same. She was avoiding eye contact with me because she knew that if she breaks down, I'll also break down. And with fake smiles on our faces, we were literally acting as if nothing has happened or everything is fine. We were experiencing emotional intelligence, the term that we often listen to or read about, but rarely experience. But then it was not enough. Meanwhile, my father sold our farm in my hometown. to support me. Now a farmer can give away his kidneys and smile, but he will never live happily without working at his farms. It's the existence of a farmer. It's the identity of a farmer. Again, that was also not enough. Then I sold the flat which I have purchased before getting married. Now, starting a new chapter of life with a new member in a new house is always special. But we had to sell that to continue the momentum. In a way, we sacrificed our physical space to buy the mental space so that we can focus on the audacious goal that we were chasing. And that's the only way. Now, during this time, I was never bothered about anything except the opinion of people, the societal norms. Unfortunately, in our society, if you're an adult, especially for a man, then you must hunt. It's beyond the comprehension of people. They're nowhere near to the sense of satisfaction in life. They can't believe that somebody can chase dreams without thinking of a single penny out of it. Right? People try to bombard my patience with their unwanted advice, unnecessary support, unacceptable opinions, but I simply ignored them. I mean, that's the best way. You can't even think of taking it with a pinch of salt because then you would need trucks and trucks of salt. That's the only way to keep calm and continue. Now, during this hustle and bustle, few things always came to my rescue. Whenever I felt low of confidence, I simply took a bat and played cricket with my friends and family in the front yard of my house. The sound of every perfect shot boosted my confidence to the core. Also, whenever I felt low, I simply spent some time playing with our pets or watering the hundreds of plants we have grown on our terrace. It was so soothing, it was so amazing experience to calm down and compile my thoughts. I always sought the clarity and courage simply by correlating my life with the journey of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, the greatest empire of all times, and thinking that what he would have done in such difficult situations. Until this point, I did not have a single drop of tear in my eyes until I saw my father in the backyard sitting and hiding all his worries, anxieties, and agony caused by my decision. Now, if your parents are worried because you are doing something bad, it still makes sense. But if you are doing something good, not just for you, but for the society at large, not just for you or your family, but for the society at large, and if it is causing them suffer, it's tough to continue. Because of these decisions, see, I was never bothered about the success of my startup or me as an individual, because it was assured on day one, because we took the action. Only two thoughts orbiting around my mind kept me haunting every single night. What if something happens to my parents in between, who have been told by me to wait for some time to get our happy days back? Or what if something happens to me in between, because now my decision has jeopardized their secure future too? Just think of it. After 30 months of all the hardships, things got tougher and tougher. Because even if we wanted to continue, we had nothing left with us except our kidneys to sail and continue. When we started feeling the heat, exactly when the things started piling up, I started thinking of delaying everything. Delaying, not quitting, because quitting was never the option, and as long as I'm there, it won't be ever. When the circumstances started eclipsing our spirit, exactly then my wife received an offer from one of the multinational companies to join at a senior position. And since then, she is running our family. And not just that, but also supporting me follow my passion or focus on the goal that we have. Indeed, an exception for a patriarchal society, but yeah, that's the truth. I was getting sucked into a black hole. But the gravity of her love, support, and understanding pulled me out of it. After that, I shifted my gears and completed the pilots of our program, and it went successful. Then we thought of approaching the pole star, which has been guiding the entire world when it comes to philanthropy. On 10th April 2023, in the afternoon, I was blessed with a baby girl. On the same day, in the evening, I received a letter from none other than Mr. Ratan Tata. He acknowledged our efforts and also shared our details with the concerned authority to take care of it. Today we are at peace because the impact of our efforts is just a matter of one support, a support from a generous individual or an organization. And once that is secured, we can empower 1 million youth towards innovation and entrepreneurship within the next 18 months. Yes, you heard it right. Now, why this hustle? This hustle is for people who have the potential, because when given a right platform, they can hit a helicopter shot and throw away all the rejections and challenges out of the park. When given a platform, they can melt millions of hearts with their soulful voice and win Indian Idol. When given a chance, they can knock right in the face of the challenges and knock them down to become the 6 times world boxing champion. There is no dearth of potential, but platforms and passion to support such platforms. Now, when you arrive at the 4th stage, that is peace, life automatically takes you to the 5th station, that is prosperity. Now, prosperity could be wealth or wisdom. After pandemic, we realized that our prosperity is wellness. And then comes people like us who believe their prosperity in the well-being of others. When we informed Mr. Tata about the significance and the coincidence of the day I received his letter, just within few weeks, we received a photograph of my daughter with his autograph. Now, if you look at it carefully, you will find that it would have been difficult for him to hold a pen due to aging. But still he did it, and that's what makes him so great and humane. When I met Dr. Mashelkar, one of the most eminent scientists and innovators in the world, he appreciated our efforts and said that this is very thoughtful, comprehensive, and much needed intervention for our country. Real blessings or real prosperity is always in the form of blessings, and it is always priceless. In the era of people moving to matchboxes and forming nuclear families, having your parents, pets, and plants in your house is a prosperity. When the humanity in human beings is getting decimated day by day, getting blessings from people and their support is the real prosperity. When there is a rat race, finding the clarity and liberty to follow your passion, follow your heart, is the real prosperity. Now, with time, our purpose evolves. And again, we start iterating the cycle of purpose, passion, patience, peace, and prosperity, so that eventually it will become a legacy. And it becomes a legacy for generations to come. One of my friends asked me while I was writing a book, why are we writing this book? I said that what if something happens to me tomorrow? At least my thoughts would be captured in this book. In a way, it is offering me immortality. Physical immortality is impossible. By reaching the depth of life and building a legacy makes us immortal. Today, I'm at TEDx not to glorify myself or my startup or my journey, because self-glorification is futile. We don't even think of that. I am here today to share with you that I'm fortunate enough to live up to the quote of Mr. JRD. I tried it, I tested it, I experienced it. And I hope you too. I did not restrict myself to keeping it as a status, but I experienced it. I wish you all the best, and I wish you the highest level of prosperity for building your immortal legacy for generations to come. Thank you.